By 1870, the crypt and the upper Basilica of the Immaculate Conception were proving to be too small for the increasing numbers of pilgrims coming to Lourdes. In fact, it is said that in 1871, the vast majority of the pilgrims who were in Lourdes for the inaugural ceremony of the upper Basilica returned home without having once entered the building. And so it was decided to build another place of worship with a capacity of approximately 1,500 people, this time underneath the other two churches. The construction of the new church, which was to be dedicated to the Rosary, began during the Silver Jubilee of the Apparitions in 1883. The foundation stone was blessed on the 16th of July of that year. Construction was completed in July of 1879, and the Rosary Church was blessed in August 1889. This new church became known as the Rosary Church, and it was consecrated in 1901. Over the main doors, we can see a sculpture depicting the presentation of the Rosary by the Blessed Virgin holding the child Jesus on her knees to Saint Dominic. Inside the Rosary Basilica, we find 15 side altars adorned by beautiful mosaics depicting the joyful, sorrowful, and glorious mysteries of the Rosary. These mosaics weren't included in the original project, but were added between 1894 and 1907. They were restored between 2000 and 2004 following water damage. Pope John Paul II introduced the Mysteries of Light, but there wasn't room inside the Rosary Basilica for mosaics illustrating these mysteries. So between October 2007 and February 2008, mosaic representations of the Mysteries of Light were created on the facade of the Rosary Basilica. The next time you're here, we'll explain which mosaic is which. The dome of the Rosary Basilica is adorned with a magnificent golden cross and crown. This cross and crown was presented by the Second National Irish Pilgrimage and was blessed in 1924. While there are a number of reliquaries containing the relics of St. Bernadette in Lourdes, the two main reliquaries are found within the sanctuary itself. These relics were removed during the third exhumation of her body just before her beatification. Bernadette passed away in Nevers on the 16th of April in 1879 at the age of 35. She had spent the final 4 months of her life in what she called her little white chapel, which was her bed in the Sainte Croix infirmary in the convent of St. Gildas in Nevers. While she had suffered from poor health all her life, her suffering was particularly difficult during her final months. We are told that as well as continuing bouts of asthma, Bernadette also had a tubercular growth on her right knee, which caused her excruciating pain and prevented her from sleeping. And we are told that there was very little skin left on the back of her body because of bed sores. Bernadette was buried in the chapel of St. Joseph, to whom she had a very special devotion. This tiny chapel is in the centre of the convent garden. 30 years after her death, the process of Bernadette's canonization had begun. One aspect of this process was called the identification of the body, and so in 1909, Bernadette's body was exhumed for the first time. It was discovered that despite its very poor condition at the time of her burial, her body was now in a state of perfect preservation. While this isn't considered to be a miracle, it is a fairly rare biological phenomenon. A second exhumation was carried out 10 years later in 1919, 40 years after Bernadette's death. The reports of the medical officers involved stated that once again, the body appeared to be absolutely intact. A third and final exhumation of Bernadette's body was required for the proclamation of beatification. The relics, which were to go to Rome, Lourdes, and the houses of the Order of the Sisters of Charity, were to be removed from the body during this exhumation. On the 18th of April, 1925, 46 years and 2 days after Bernadette's death, her body was exhumed for the third and last time. Relics, including parts of her 5th and 6th ribs, were removed. Shortly after this final exhumation, Bernadette's body was dressed in a new habit and she was placed in her final resting place, which is a gold and glass casket in the convent church in Nevers. As we mentioned earlier, there are two main reliquaries in Lourdes. The largest reliquary can be found in the Chapel of Saint Michel, to the right as we pass through the door leading to the crypt. During the renovations to the facade of the Upper Basilica and the first half of 2020, this reliquary was placed in the Rosary Basilica. In the evening of the 18th of February each year, which is St. Bernadette's feast day here in France, the sound of the Ave Maria and the praying of the Rosary can be heard from the local faithful, candles in hand, as they process through the streets of Lourdes behind this reliquary, following Bernadette to her beloved grotto. We leave from the parish church each year, passing the Cachot and the Boli Mill before arriving in the sanctuary where St. Bernadette's relics are laid on the altar at the grotto. A second reliquary was inaugurated in 2017 with the purpose of providing parishes from all over the world the opportunity of hosting the relics of St. Bernadette and of paying homage to Our Lady of Lourdes while leaving their intentions in St. Bernadette's prayerful presence. Other relics of St. Bernadette can be found in the Hospice of Lourdes, the parish church, and in Bartres.